Right, I'd like to start off again by thanking the viewers for tuning in to WKS. I'm here with Alex Oliver. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you.
Brilliant. Do you want to sort of start off by telling us a bit about yourself, sort of maybe how you got into music and a bit of your journey up to now?
Yeah, journey and getting into music are quite sort of key with Cornwall in a way, because prior to that, in my earlier teens, I've been trying to put bands together at school and borrowing acoustic guitars and things. And long story short, I found myself hitchhiking down to Cornwall to try and get some seasonal work, and ended up in St Ives, and I met a bunch of people there. This was sort of early 1970s, who were still quite the hippie type, and they lived on a campsite at Clodgy Point. It wasn't
Okay.
an official campsite; it was this farmer's field, and he was very obliging and brought timber for us every day. And I was meanwhile skint and couldn't find any said hotel work, because being a long-haired person, I was one of those that they referred to in the local pubs with little signs saying "No undesirables admitted." So there was a guy who got a guitar and he couldn't play terribly well, and I had to go on it, and he said, "Show me what you did." So I said, "If I show you some guitar stuff, can I borrow the guitar to go busking?" And so I went downtown, of course, Seaside Resort. It was the perfect
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I was making more money in half an hour to an hour just on the street corners in St Ives. And my mates were back up in the steelworks in Sheffield
Wow.
for a week plus overtime. So I thought, oh, I've landed. So this is great. And it was kind of my first chance to really stretch my legs as a young adult, as it were, arriving in St Ives, meeting all these people, and just thinking, oh well, I'll just come back here every year and busk all summer, and that's my life mapped out, as it were. But
Mm.
things do change.
Things do change, yes, they do. So, are you solo, or are you in a band now, or?
I'm in two bands at the moment.
Okay.
Well, I just started another duo with acoustic guitars. A good friend of mine called David Williamson, who's a brilliant songwriter and a playwright, and plays harmonica and guitar and various other bits. But we just got one rehearsal in, and then they brought in the first lockdown. I wasn't going to mention that word and try not to bring anybody down again, but unfortunately that scuppered those plans. So we just passed a few ideas back and forth across the internet. And one of the bands, we were able to rehearse in somebody's garden over the summer. We checked out with the neighbours, and they said, no, do it if you want. And in the end, they were coming out saying, that were good, can you do this one again? So we thought, oh,
Okay.
we can't be doing too badly. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, we're not sort of big famous bands. It's just local stuff, pubs and clubs and for
Okay.
local festivals and that. But I enjoy that. It's just such exciting. That's the word I'm going to use, to get out
Yeah, yeah.
and do it.
So, who are you a writer then? Do you write songs?
I do, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
What's your process then? What's your creative process?
I never really know how it's going to strike. I mean, I've sort of done the archetypal poet thing, seen a brilliant work of art, and it sort of triggered something. One of my earliest songs I actually wrote whilst I was in St Ives. It's called Angel of Fire. Still do it today, and it was about a girl who I met, and that was a very, very, very exciting time for me. Anyway, we got on famously. But she was German. She was on holiday. She went back, and that was it. Heartbreak and stuff. But as I keep saying, life carries on. But yeah, so life experience causes me to write, and although that was sort of inclining towards a romantic kind of song, I try to write about any other thing besides just sort of boy meets girl or vice versa or breaks up or whatever,
Right.
because there's plenty of other stuff out there.
So is it the words come to you and then you put it to music, or?
Sometimes, but because I consider myself as a guitarist before I do myself as a vocalist. I'll often pick the guitar up. Well, I'm always picking the guitar up. I have to tell myself to put it down, and I'll come up with an idea what older people like me might call a riff, which is sort of just a phrase or something, a musical phrase, and you'll think that speaks to me somehow. And sometimes if I don't know how much people understand music, but if it's like in a minor key that you've done, whether it's accidental or deliberate, that might suggest what kind of mood the song's going to be in. So I'll just play something, and ideas will start spilling forth like that, and you kind of, it suggests the idea. So say it's going to be a happy song or a sad song, some sad lyric or other, or happy lyric, whatever appropriate, will come to you, and you start writing that, and that is a wonderful way around, because then you've got the tune and you're just fitting words to the tune. It's a bit like writing sort of simple poetry, just making things rhyme or making things fit together in a way, not necessarily rhyme. But if you have a brilliant idea for a lyric first, and then you think, oh, what I'm going to come up with for a tune, and then it's really hard sometimes to apply it the other way around.
Right.
But it is for me anyway. I know there's probably people who work the other way. I've found this out, talking to the musicians and that. People are right.
Okay, so let's do a throwaway question now. It's a daft question. What's your most useless talent?
Talking drivel, endlessly talking drivel.
Love it. Okay, yeah. So who would you, if you could collaborate with anybody musically, who would you like to collaborate with?
Oh God, there's a whole plethora of names pop up. I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. One would be for my own sort of gratification, that I think are probably a more useful one. But that's purely my opinion, because they haven't said anything about it to reciprocate. They'll probably say the opposite. But I don't know. Maybe somebody like Joni Mitchell.
Okay. Yeah.
Or maybe get together with Pentangle, something like that. Because it's sort of it's a thing that I love deeply, and that I'll actually draw on for ideas myself. But my sort of main genre, as it were, is 60s pop rock, classic rock, that kind of area. So where a lot of my mates were listening to the Beatles, I was listening to the Stones and the Who and the Kinks, and the more sort of raunchy, for want of a better word, sounding bands.
Okay, so are you acoustic or electric then?
Weirdly enough, having said what I just said, I'm primarily electric.
Okay.
I tried to get an acoustic. Well, I was given one and it was absolutely rubbish. And then, unbeknownst to me dad, I took my Scale Electric little model racing track to the junk shop, and I swapped that for an electric guitar, and managed to borrow an amplifier off somebody. And I thought, oh yeah, this is me. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
So what's your favourite memory of St Ives? Because, like, I mean, for me, I'm down in Penzance, and I assume are you up in Sheffield now? Are you?
I'm in Sheffield now. Yeah.
But what's your favourite memory of St Ives?
Gosh, I suppose probably actually singing and playing in the street. The reactions that we were getting from people. I mean, okay, so they probably weren't all Cornwall residents, as it were, because you got people who've been fishing and things like that, and they've got no money on them. They'd say, well, we've got no money to give you, but have a fish. We'd like to be a bit of a Monty Python-esque insult. It worked for me. Yeah, so and having people around me as well. There's another guy used to come with his guitar, and we'd accompany each other. And the girl that was at the time, she'd be dancing around and carrying the hat, as it were. And that just seemed like a really deliriously happy sort of time.
Superb. Have you and your band or anything, have you got anything out on YouTube?
Yes, we have.
Because what I normally do is I ask for a couple of videos and I tag it onto these interviews.
Right, okay. It's apart from the fact that I'm ludicrously hopeless at remembering URLs or anything like that, I would be able to probably send you some.
Well, if you give me the name of the band or the artist I'm going to look for and the title of the track, I can find it.
Yeah, we're called the Alex Oliver Band these days.
Okay.
We were previously called Ace in the Hand. So I know that if you look for Ace in the Hand, you'll find some of the studio stuff.
Ace, was that Ace in the Hand?
Ace in the Hand, as in the playing card, club, hearts, whatever.
Any particular sort of couple of tracks you want, for me to put up on that?
I suppose if we take two extremes of stuff that we do at the moment, I might have to say Whiskey Burns, which is kind of a blues rock thing, and the Angel of Fire that I mentioned earlier. That might be the appropriate one. That's a softer bluesy feel to it.
And that's both with Ace in the Hand, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it got well. We recently had a staff change, and we're still in the process of it, to be totally honest. And at that time and previous to that, people had often said, "Why don't you just call it the Alex Oliver Band?" And I've always hated people calling bands after their own names because I think they're egotistical. But the thing, but then I realised that I'd got a following who sort of would catch up for me 6 months after I'd joined a new band or whatever, not knowing, where I was because the band's name would be different. So eventually I got my own twist and thought, well, okay then, it does make sense from that point of view. So I keep remembering to look at wherever the camera is, but I suppose there's going to be audio anyway, isn't it? So
So after lockdown, what's next for you then?
Well, we've decided we're gonna approach venues because we were gigging quite regularly. Well, that is Ace in the Hand stroke Alex Oliver Band. We got sort of rebooks here, there, and everywhere around Nottingham, North Derbyshire, Sheffield, Doncaster. But obviously, landlords, if they still have a business to come back to after all that and various venues, they're going to be strapped for cash. So what we're going to do is we're going to approach the ones that we've played with so far and say, look, we understand that you're broke. We're in this possibly more for a hobby these days than being sort of young hopefuls after a lot of money and a lot of fame. So we're prepared to sort of come and do a gig for sort of, I don't know, beer and petrol, so soft drinks and petrol. If there's any hope of us getting a paid gig later on down the line, fine, but we'll help you if you'll help us, sort of thing. So I mean, it's a very tricky one, that, because a lot of the professional organisations like the PRS and the Musicians Union don't particularly, as it were, I can't think of the right word, but they think a lot of people don't think that going out for nothing is a good idea, because it's always been horrifically difficult trying to get money out of people for going and playing your music there. But I think that's a historically significant thing. It's been like that for musicians ever since people first twanged and thumped things, because I suppose it's always been seen as non-essential, despite all the psychological arguments and therapeutic arguments that fly about these days, which I know are valid because I've run community music organisations myself, and enjoyed great success. I've been really pleased with the results. Other musicians have come in and sort of said, I'll teach keyboard, I'll teach singing, whatever. So we've given free lessons to anybody of any age or ability or disability, for want of a better word. And we just had great results, made people happy or helped them realise that they could play an instrument, and they've gone on and taken proper lessons or joined bands or whatever, and just mentored people. And that is a great reward, because they're feeling better. And I think that's the biggest hurdle that a lot of musicians or performers of any kind face. It's the self-confidence thing. And you can see people who are utterly brilliant, and you say, go on and go to local, open mic or whatever. No. I mean, I'm still the same, I still get nervous. I'm better with the band because I know I've got other people around, sort of, and you kind of ride on each other's presence, as it were. And in that situation, I don't give a monkey's. I've got absolutely no fear and no compunction whatsoever. But going solo, I think that's why I don't do that so much, even though I probably started out, it's that is fear city.
So is there any recording in the pipeline? You're going to do albums and that sort of stuff, or?
We're hoping to. We have got an EP that you should be able to find at all major outlets at the moment, under the name of Ace in the Hand. And there are 5 numbers on that. I think. God, there's definitely 4 originals on it.
Okay.
There's the couple that you're going to look for later on, the Angel of Fire and Whiskey Burns. There's one called Rock and Roll Road, which there's a video for as well. And song about trains. What's it bloody called now? Pardon my French. East Coast Line. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a lot more original stuff in the background. But what scuppered us was just as the lockdown came along, the bass player that we'd started out with he'd learnt a lot of the original stuff, he had to leave for family reasons. So we've not found anybody since who's been able to sort of stay with it and learn the original stuff properly. So that's kind of held back the progress, because the drummer knows loads of stuff that I've written, and in fact he's done an album with the band as well. We've both written and played all our playing careers, or adult careers as it were, lives. But yeah, I'm hoping there'll be something else new, but it's going to be a case of financing it. And for that, we sort of need some gigs. I mean, we've got to, we could probably self-finance it, but in a way, you kind of want your work to be accepted and liked and enjoyed. So we need to get out and gig it first. And if you get a good response to a song, you think, right, that one we'll do that. And if a song doesn't go down so well, you think, why didn't it work? Was it just a miserable audience, or well, is there something wrong with that song and we'll not do it again? So it's a sort of it's a very steady process. I mean, I think if I could record everything myself, I could go into a studio and not reappear for maybe a couple of years. But we just keep at it, and I'm still writing stuff all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one final question now. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for you being here musically now?
Well, besides the obvious parent thing and all that, probably Jimi Hendrix. There was a few lads locally that I knew who played guitar, and they showed me a few riffs and things like that. But it was through an older lad who was just he was the one who read Melody Maker, and he knew everything that was happening, and he sort of introduced me to Jimi Hendrix. And just one day, it was a weird sequence of events, but I was lying in hospital after a road traffic accident. So I got my hospital headphones on, and meanwhile Hendrix had died, and they played a posthumous release called Voodoo Child Slight Return. I thought, if I could play guitar like that, electric guitar, that's what I want to do. So that was like the crucial moment that made me pick up the electric guitar again, like, dump the scale electric and really have a go at it. And it was, I thought I wouldn't be able to do much with it, but I've always left it down to what other people have thought of what I did, and people seem to enjoy, what I did with the guitar, and they thought it was okay, so I stuck with it, kind of thing, So brilliant. I guess I've always just been bubbling on, one of these people who, oh, he's good, why hasn't he got a record deal? Because there's about 8 million others who are just that much better, and they've got it, so there you go. But you still go out and do it.
Alex, look, thank you so much for giving me the time.
Absolutely.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck. I shall tag the two videos or whatever you want onto this, okay. And then get your followers, share it, and go for it.
Lovely, thank you. That's most excellent. I really appreciate the time you've taken to interview me.
No problem. Speak to you soon.
Okay, thank you. See you, Cornwall, hopefully.
Yeah.